From a score-settling trilogy fight with Poatan to a dance with MMA's hottest new prospect, here's what we think about who Israel Adesanya should fight next. The last stylebender has truly delivered on every bit of his early potential. A masterful striker with an artistic flair, this pound-for-pound great has taken the stand-up game to another level. At this stage, he owns at least one victory over every top 5 middleweight. Guys like Marvin Vettori and Robert Whittaker have both tasted defeat twice, and this really makes the question of what to do next a tough one. As one of the premier stars in the sport, Israel Adesanya can fight any random person on the street, and it would sell. But UFC 287's main event against Alex Pereira had that real big fight feel, and it felt like a major return to form for Izzy. It's like his star power has never been higher, and when he KO'd the fearsome Poatan before shooting him full of arrows, it was a celebration that will no doubt be remembered for years to come.
I hope every one of you behind your screens or in this arena can feel this level of happiness just one time in your life. I hope all of you can feel how happy I am just one time in your life.
A viral moment for the ages. He appeals to the casuals for his style and charisma, and the hardcores love him because he's an absolute master of his craft. And this win over his great rival was truly one that returned his name to the very peak of the sport. Well, what does the future hold for the newly reinstated 185-pound king? Is it a trilogy fight with Alex Pereira, or fight number 5, depending on how you look at it? Well, there's certainly a demand for seeing one more helping of this striker's dream fight, and let's face it, 1 win and 3 losses doesn't exactly sound like a closed chapter, now does it, Izzy? Pereira was having some real success in that fight before he got tagged and finished. In fact, the more we think about it, the more it seems like a direct mirror of fights number 2 and number 3, except this time, Pereira was the one who was building up steam before losing it all in a second. Yeah, there's some real unfinished business here, folks, and if Pereira doesn't decide to go to light heavyweight, then this is the contest to enter. 3-1 Pereira is still pretty dominant in our eyes, but as the old saying goes, you're only as good as your last fight, and Israel looked pretty damn good last time around. So if the book is truly closed on his saga with Pereira, I think most fans will agree that a fresh matchup is in order. The problem? Well, Stylebender has kinda cleared out the whole division, but then there's the number 6 ranked Dricus Du Plessis. Maybe he's not your first pick, he might not even be your second, but Du Plessis is an action fighter and a highly ranked middleweight who did just beat Derek Brunson, and him and Izzy have some serious beef. As a South African, he believes that he of the two will be the one to have the continent of Africa behind him. In fact, the two have been going back and forth about who between them is more African. It's actually getting pretty heated. Lines are being crossed already. And yeah, that doesn't sit well with Adesanya, not one bit. Du Plessis might not have the sharpest technique or the cleanest overall game, but he brings an uncoachable warrior spirit. Du Plessis is always capable of turning a losing effort around in the blink of an eye. And given just how tough he is, the chances of him still being in the champion's face in rounds 4 and 5 are pretty high, and while Adesanya should be favored to get the win, it's a fresh matchup against one of the most exciting fighters in the division. But speaking of fresh matchups, how about a showdown with the boogeyman of the welterweight division? Does Khamzat Chimaev even need an introduction at this stage? As one of the breakout stars of the decade so far, Chimaev's early run of consistent appearances has given way to a period of far less activity, but even now his star power is as strong as ever.
Chimaev orthodox in black. Chimaev straight on the pressure, like he always does.
Just like that!
And with his issues making the 170-pound limit of late, are you telling me that a title fight at middleweight wouldn't do some crazy numbers? Borz is a big box office star in the making, and he's unbeaten, immensely popular. Plus, he so happens to be a very dangerous stylistic matchup for Izzy. Khamzat has the potential to make this look very, very easy. The way he runs through elite opposition is unmatched in MMA today. He doesn't just beat his foes, he mauls them, and he has the style to break Israel within minutes of the cage doors closing. Sure, he hasn't competed at middleweight in a while, but money talks, and this fight is big business. However, it's not just Khamzat who has the option of moving up in weight. Israel may have come up short during his last trip to 205 pounds, but after a win like that, the UFC is going to give Adesanya any fight he wants, and if he chooses, a second crack at the light heavyweight crown might be in order. Because where Jan Blachowicz was a tough stylistic pairing, Jamal Hill offers up some very clear routes to victory. The newly crowned 205-pound king is an action fighter, and with that comes glaring openings on the feet. Adesanya is a sniper, and if you've been paying attention, fight by fight, you'll notice that he has been packing on more and more muscle. What is he building towards? Well, we reckon there's another light heavyweight run in him, and now with a fighter like Hill sitting at the top of the, well, hill, it could be the perfect time to strike. And it's not like Jamal wouldn't be a very real threat in this fight. Hill's size, reach, athleticism, and finishing instincts could make him a nightmare for Izzy. Just because Adesanya has a kickboxing background, it doesn't mean he's invincible on the stand-up. No, Hill would not need much to turn his fortunes around in an instant.
Turning, he's defending. Hill postures up, but Hill is still attacking. Put some power and put an exclamation point on the Knights. That'll do it!
Light heavyweight is 20 pounds above middleweight, folks. Do not make the mistake of expecting a cakewalk for Adesanya. But if 185 is the only thing on Izzy's mind, perhaps there's another major rivalry of his that should be settled once and for all. With all this talk of double champ status and 5-fight sagas, it's easy to forget about Robert Whittaker, because let's be real, there's a very credible argument that he won the rematch against Adesanya. Sure, it could have gone either way, and that's exactly what happened. But like Max Holloway at featherweight, Bobby Knuckles has moved into a secondary champion role. He beats the contenders before they ever get to Adesanya. He's like the bouncer at Stylebenders Club, but Whittaker can't do this forever without getting another shot. He's 12-2 at middleweight. Both of these losses were to the champ, and you can make the argument that he should have won their second fight. So yeah, these two are not through with each other yet, not even close. And if you ask us, Robert Whittaker deserves another opportunity to prove that he's still the #1 fighter in this division. The general public loves the Reaper too. He's always been cited as the fighter that most fans would love to have a beer with. Maybe the UFC could bring the show back to Australia or even New Zealand. And look, it wouldn't just be the right business move. Robert Whittaker is one of the greatest MMA fighters of his era, and while sure, you could throw him another fresh contender and watch him dominate, I don't know. The timing just seems perfect on this one. You gotta admit, I's an interesting thought, right? Well, wait till you get a load of this one. We know it's totally unrealistic to even discuss Bo Nickel right now. And yes, he's not even ranked, but if he keeps active and racks up a win or two in 2023, then he's definitely getting a top 10 test. You all know how the UFC works. Bo Nickel is a legitimate star in the making, and the more he wins, the more people are going to start wondering about how his wrestling stacks up with the striking heavy style of Adesanya. Nickel just needs a bit more octagon time to really find his groove. Right now, he fights like a supercar, quick on the gas and generally giving 100% from the opening bell. But we don't know how Bo is going to look after 3 or 4 rounds. It's a big question mark. However, if he can find some positive momentum, the fans will want this dude fast-tracked into contention. Sure, it's not a quick fix for this video's overarching question, but he's a long-term option nonetheless. And as a very famous Irishman once said, options are good in the fight game. So will it be a familiar face standing across from the middleweight king? Or does a return to 205 pounds look like the most likely scenario? No matter what happens, the next fight in Israel Adesanya's career is looking certain to be a big one.